guys, welcome back to my channel. So we're doing part 2 today with Mumtaz.
Hi.
On our UK, experience chat, and this is part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, please do check it out because I think it's super informative. And we're basically just dealing with any questions that you guys have over moving to the UK, audit in the UK, and yeah, I think we can go straight into it.
Okay, so one of the questions that came up is, would you rather audit in South Africa or audit in the UK?
Oh my god.
I have a definite answer. I don't need to think twice about it. I would audit in the UK.
Okay, we have to ask
Why?
why.
Now that I'm qualified.
Okay.
Now that I'm qualified. I feel like my auditing days in South Africa definitely made me the auditor I am today.
Okay.
And I feel like it really built my foundation. Like that training is thorough, right? You can't deny it. We go through the most. Everything is a learning opportunity when you're going through the most. But at the end of the day, we come out, I feel like we come out really good.
We are good quality
We are
auditors.
good quality auditors. But from a sustainable life point of view, it wasn't, I didn't feel like it was favor. Like if I just compare to my articles experience, the hours, the environment, it was tough, right? But then at the same time, I don't know if it was because it was articles or if it was just South Africa. Then I moved on to becoming a manager. My work experience was great with the partner I was working for, but outside of that, I still felt like I struggled.
Okay.
Outside of working with that partner specifically, because I felt like the only reason I stuck it out that long was because of her and because she had my back. But then moving over to UK, my hours were better. Never worked the weekend until now when I got the promotion again.
Look at the girl.
Until now, I never worked the weekend, hardly worked overtime, but I was getting lots of exposure and I was learning a bunch of new things. Like financial services was new to me in the year that I started.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know anything. I didn't know valuations. I didn't know what any of the words meant, but still I didn't have to put in, like basically give up my life for audit.
Okay.
At that point for when I just started, right? Now, obviously, with any promotion in any company, your hours increase naturally as you move up anyway, as you move up the ranks, because your responsibility increases. And so you are responsible not only for yourself, but for the people that are working under you. And so automatically that's going to filter into your work-life balance. And so to find that again is the challenge. It's not that it can't exist, it's just that it's difficult. But in terms of how I feel I'm being treated, it's not toxic. So I'm tired, but it's not like I feel like I don't want to work with someone ever again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like emotionally it's fine. It's just that I'm tired, which I would rather have than being emotionally drained and other tired, basically.
I think I do agree with you. I don't know if it's South African culture, but there's just something in the air in that work environment that it is toxic. Like, I don't know, it just feels like sometimes it was unnecessarily difficult. And so for me, this year was a lot of learning and a lot of figuring things out. And I mean, as tough as that was, I also don't recall the amount of times I haven't actually worked overtime. Weekends, probably not. I do think that here I've had a better quality of life. I have time to do things like, and I think you guys have seen on my channel, I'm traveling, I'm investing in this channel, like I'm doing my hobbies. Like you have time for yourself, and your work really ends on Friday at 5:30. Like you might work during the week because you want to finish things off, but like once it's Friday, you know you have a weekend, you can make plans. And here I also find that you actually take leave. Like it's not a big deal.
It's funny that you're mentioning the weekend thing, because like in South Africa, when someone's asking you what are you up to this weekend, they're not asking you what plans you have. It's like, I'm checking to see if you are working, because you are supposed to be. Yeah, when someone asks me what are you up to this weekend, they're genuinely asking me about my plans. When I come back the Monday and they say, how was your weekend, they're not trying to check if I worked or not. They genuinely want to know, how was my weekend, did I actually enjoy it? Because that expectation of working over the weekend is not there, because you're a human being, and so they treat you like one. And so that's what I felt was significantly different. Where I felt like in South Africa sometimes I had to lie and be like, nah, I worked the weekend, because everybody was working the weekend, and I felt like I was slacking because I felt like I just needed it.
You almost feel guilty.
You feel guilty for not working during your free time.
It doesn't make sense. I know back home I would feel so guilty for taking leave. And that was the weirdest thing to me. Everyone is entitled to leave. You give the, I guess, minimum notice. I want to take leave during this time. And, you know, they're supposed to make a plan and then it's fine. Here, I just say, okay, look, I want a week in July. Can I have it? They plan around it, sorted. Like, I don't feel like I'm jumping through hoops here to have a life. And I think that's definitely the biggest thing. And I do agree with you as well that I'm fine. I'm glad that I was South African trained and then working here now. But I want to ask you, why would you why would you not have been trained in the UK?
I just feel like that's a very tough question talking about. Putting me on the spot here. I just feel like the exposure, the things we have exposure to, and the training we get in terms of how people coach you makes for a better learning experience.
Okay.
So when you come to the UK, people often come in as school leavers, or and a school leaver is basically they came straight out of high school and now they're in audit and then they're learning about accounting for the first time
on the job,
or they finished uni and they studied something completely different like history and now they're in auditing, so they know zero accounting, so they are all still learning during the articles. Then they have us, the expats, who come in fully qualified as their seniors, but is now taking on significantly more work because these people are away for exams or they need training, right? And so the coaching levels aren't the same like in South Africa. In South Africa, you have your third year, your second year, your first year.
Yeah.
Your second year teachers, your first year, your third year teachers, your second year, your manager teachers. There's a clear hierarchy in terms of who you learn from and people who actually know what they're doing, and you come in knowing and understanding accounting already. You're not starting from a zero base. So now you're basically taking all of your theory and you're seeing, oh, this is how the picture comes together. Whereas here they're starting from a zero base. So your ability to build quality when you already have some sort of base is easier.
I get that.
And because the standard, like it's known that the standard of auditing in South Africa is intense compared to a lot of other places. And so our quality in South Africa is very good. So you learn what good looks like.
Yeah.
From very early on. Because someone is going to look at your working paper and be like, hell no, you're not bringing that onto my file. If anything, we over audit in South Africa.
100%. Ooh.
But it also teaches us what's important, what we need to look at, how detailed we need to look at. It teaches us professional skepticism, which I feel sometimes is difficult here because I'm number one starting from a zero base, but then also it hasn't caught up to how we audit in South Africa yet. And so I feel like because of the training I had in South Africa, I'm the auditor I'm today. I feel like I would have lacked that and it would have taken me longer in my career to get to that point than compared to how fast I got to it now. Because now I can look at anything and I must like absorb it like no tomorrow. And what taught me that was auditing in South Africa.
100%. I think also just trying to like when you're studying same time and working and now you're trying to apply what you're learning, but I think it can be too much.
It's a lot. I don't think I have this about.
I think I prefer the way that we do it, definitely. And I think it also just makes sense to come from varsity, knowing that this is what you're going to go into as opposed to doing like...
Yeah, because can you imagine you rock up on day one and someone tells you, audit this expense and you don't even know the accrual basis of accounting when the expense must be recorded. You don't know what accrual is. Like, a lot of the terminology is completely foreign to you.
Exactly.
And so it is difficult because essentially you're learning basics over your 3 years. You can't become perfect in something. Okay, none of us are perfect, but almost like an expert in how to do something. I feel like that's difficult when you're learning basics and trying to do this at the same time.
I think a easy example is I remember doing auditing in third year, completely confused. Now imagine doing that, or maybe am I contradicting myself? Doing that and working at the same time. Do you think that would have been easier? Because we always say no, auditing is a practical subject.
Auditing is a practical subject, but I feel like, and the thing I always used to tell my students is that in order to audit, you need to know the accounting behind something.
Yes.
So if you don't understand the accounting behind something, automatically the audit's going to be harder because you don't know what you need to be looking for.
You don't know what you don't know.
If you don't, for example, we work in financial services, there's evaluation. you don't know what the DCF is.
Yeah.
How are you going to audit that DCF when you don't know the basic steps? You don't know what a discount rate is made up of.
Yeah.
You don't know the steps it takes to calculate the discount rate. How are you going to audit it? So yes, it would have been helpful for us to see practical stuff for audit while we were studying, but we would have already came in with our basic accounting knowledge to enable us to understand how to audit something. If you're coming from not knowing any accounting and then also not knowing any auditing, it's going to be difficult.
Basically, if you're back home and training, just be grateful for your training.
Yeah. But if you're coming to do articles here, you still have that accounting knowledge.
That is
and so
true.
There are other South Africans here. Someone will teach you, so you'll be fine.
We help each other. The South Africans help each other. That's something I appreciate about being here.
Okay. Then... Okay, let's talk about audit first completely.
Okay.
So then, how do you feel your duties differed from when you were auditing in South Africa versus your duties here? Were you only doing articles in South Africa before you came here, or did you have another role?
Okay.
And how do you feel that differed?
I mean, I was only doing auditing. But in terms of the roles, I feel like as a third year, or at least when I was doing it, I was also managing the audits. I felt like I was an assistant manager.
What do you say when you say managing audit? What
so
does
like
that mean?
managing people, managing the client, managing my managers and partners. So managing up and down in terms of the team, managing the clients. Also I want to say more important deliverables like audit committee reports, planning documents. Like I felt like I was more involved in the thinking around the audit as opposed to the execution. And coming here, I've definitely seen that I'm executing mostly. And there are a lot of people that have gripes with this because you feel like you take a step back. And in the beginning of the year, I was very frustrated. Why am I testing expenses? This is something that generally a first year would do back home. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized you don't know how things work in the UK. You know, so I'm working on different investment vehicles that I've never worked for. And I can't be thinking about an audit approach if I don't actually know the basics. So I think that although you do take a step back, it actually helps you understand the entity a lot more. And eventually you will feel that, okay, I'm actually ready for the next level. And then you start preparing for that. So my role, I want to say, is an execution mostly. I still manage, the juniors and semi-seniors. They have something called semi-seniors here. So I do manage a bit, but I don't manage upwards. I very rarely manage like audit committee reports. But I do think that as I progress, I will be ready to take those things on, show those capabilities, and then just kind of keep working my way up.
Do you also feel like it was harder for you to be like, I want to do all of it? Because number one, you felt like you had to because as I felt, I had to build my name from scratch. No one knew who I was.
Yep.
I couldn't be like, you know the quality of my work.
Yeah.
Because no one knows it.
You have no legs.
Number two, you don't know anybody here. So you haven't built that relationships like you did when you started in your first or second year, whatever you did, with the people that are managing you, for them to be like, okay, I trust you, you can take this from beginning to end. They also don't know who you are. They don't know the training you've gotten in South Africa, what you are capable of. So automatically, they don't assume incompetence, but they assume that it's just execution and that project management lies solely with people above the senior level.
Yeah, and it's difficult because especially when you come from a place where you feel like, no, I can't do this, I'm competent. Why are they giving me basic stuff? Like, these are genuinely thoughts that I had. But, and it's just hard to accept that, you're not there anymore. And you do need to start from scratch. And starting from scratch is not easy, even in a workplace. And I think also when you choose a different firm that has different methodology, different software, the confusion, I feel like, is compounded. So you do need to take the time to figure all of this stuff out. And that is frustrating. Here, I think the busy season is usually January to April. So I also joined during busy season. And there wasn't a lot of time to be coached and helped. There was a lot of figuring things out on your own. Like, it's the most frustrating thing. It's nice when you're on the other side and you understand. But in that moment, Like, I think I probably spoke about this in my first or second month review. I really questioned, why did I come here? Because it was just difficult. It was just difficult, frustrating. Did you make the right move? Are you even competent? But you know, you get there. It just takes time. It takes time, and you learn to be patient with yourself as well.
I think my journey was a little different because I finished my articles in South Africa, then I became a manager, and then I moved over. Okay. Depending on which firm you join in the UK, you join like at different levels. So like at Deloitte, I think it's different. At PwC, it's different. At whatever other firm, it's different. And also depending where they want to take you at. I obviously wanted to come to this specific firm with zero financial services experience. So am I going to tell them, now promote me to manager when I know nothing about financial services, but I will manage the audit. Now my senior or my team's going to come to me and be like, I also don't know. So I had to be prepared to take that step back and go back to detail testing, which was one of the hardest things I feel like I ever done. It was one of the most soul-defeating things, but if I didn't do that, I wouldn't have accumulated all the knowledge I have now. Within 1.5 years, I feel like I know so much as if I've always worked in financial services, basically. Like, I don't remember what it was like not knowing those things. But I'm not gonna lie, it was soul-defeating, where I was like, if I must detail test and do journal entry testing one more time in my life, I would rather move back to South Africa.
Because it's hard.
It's hard. It's really difficult because I know the quality of my work and I know my capabilities. And so to prove to other people again that I am competent, that I know what I'm doing, that was also difficult for me. But the difference I found is that I felt like sometimes in South Africa, I had to prove myself, not because someone died, but because I was a female or I was brown, whatever. Whereas here in the UK, I never felt that way.
Okay.
No one made me feel like, oh, I have to prove it's only because I had no financial services experience, basically, that they were like, you are still learning, so you need to prove to us that you can learn quick enough and that you can take on the responsibility we give you. And so that was my task. And then when I felt like, no, this is it, I really can't detail test anymore, like I've learned what I could learn by detail testing, now I feel like I'm at that point in my career where no matter what you throw at me, I should be able to learn it. I shouldn't have to detail test. I should be able to learn it another way. So then I spoke to my person that oversees me and I was like, look, I want a promotion now. I can't anymore. And then she was like, okay, let's see what we can do. They recommended me. They put me up for promotion. So now my role changed again, where I manage more. Yes, sometimes I have to detail test if the staff are not around. But it's not that I'm always testing. It's more project managing, overseeing, billing, basically all the admin, which is also not what I expected the job to be, but it's a completely different learning curve.
Okay.
And you get different skills by doing this job. And so now I'm more closer to the role I originally was in South Africa, if not a little bit further on. But I feel like this firm is unique in how they do assistant managers. I feel like at another firm it would be equivalent to a junior manager, if I'm not mistaken. Which means that if I go up another step, then that means I'm even more qualified as a manager, closer to like senior manager, for example. But yeah, that was my experience. It was tough, I'm not gonna lie. To detail test you after not detail testing for like 8 months or so, to go back and feel like you're literally taking a step back in your career, watching everybody in your year get promoted to different things, and then you're still sitting there with audit senior and everything, and you're like, you're slacking. And so that's the hardest thing, but you need to remember you can't compare yourself to other people. Everybody's journey is different.
Exactly.
And you need to be happy with the sacrifices you make, because I feel like you're on a path for a reason, you know? We wouldn't have met if I didn't decide to do that.
Listen.
Okay, so the other question was, do you know other people in like outside of London, working outside of London in the UK?
In
audit.
I do know a few people.
And do you know like about their experience? I know some people that wanted to change to London because depending on how you move over, if you move over alone, it's lonely.
That's right.
And London is vibes.
I was about to say, if I haven't asked them, but like all I just keep thinking about is London is vibes.
London is vibes.
Like
as a single person alone, there's always something to do.
There's always something to do every weekend. Whereas I feel like I don't know much, so I'm just thinking out loud. But like if you are in those neighboring places, what are you doing? Like I think you can only go to the same few places, like twice, 3 times. Like at a point you get tired, and unfortunately the best things do happen in London. And if I wasn't in London in the UK, I don't think I'd come to the UK. I don't think I could go to another.
I think it was a hard no. And also, because I also wanted to travel, I knew London was my easy gateway to everywhere because it flies everywhere and you get cheap tickets.
Guys, there's like 4. Is there 4 airports? There's 4 airports in London. 5. London City.
5.
In London.
And my one friend made a joke that when you go, you can go for brunch every weekend and you never have to go to the same place twice. That's how much they used to do in London, in this tiny little town.
Yep.
There's so much to do.
So much, guys.
But if you don't, some people don't like the hustle and bustle of London on the other end. Like some people move over with their partners and they feel like they prefer living like in Birmingham or another city because they prefer that lifestyle. It's more quiet. If they want to come into hustle and bustle, it's not far from London. They come in for the weekend or for the day. So it depends entirely on what your vibe is. Like I like the hustle and bustle, but I don't like to always stay in it. So I stay out, like further out in London, but
further out.
Yeah, we stay on the outskirts. Like we just in London.
If I want to go in, I go and come back.
Literally just. Basically, my toe is there. And then if I want to go to the hustle and bustle, I'll just take a train into Central, you know. But then when I go home, I have my peace and quiet, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Exactly.
So it depends what you want out of the experience, I would say.
But also, it's also not to trash like being in the other cities as well. I think they do probably have great qualities.
I mean, Manchester has nice food, eh?
You won't get that. You guys know you don't get that.
The food ain't the one, yeah.
But try and see what it is that, again, I think it always does. I feel like the constant theme is it's all about what you actually want and what you're looking for, and just making sure the offer that you accept aligns with that.
Yeah, no, I can answer that for you. Then the big question: auditing versus other prospects outside of audit in the UK. That is a toughie.
I want to answer in one way, in that I chose audit because I thought it was easier to come here in audit. So that's why it wasn't a thing of looking at prospects. I always just thought that a company can't justify bringing me here when I have no experience at all. Like at least having auditing is something, you know, like you going into financial services even though you don't have that experience. So I definitely think auditing is the best way. I'm not saying it's the only way though. And people,
it is the easiest way.
It is the easiest. Like the firms here are hiring like crazy. So if you want to do it, just go to any recruiter, apply in any of the companies, you'll at least get an interview. In terms of other prospects, what I do know is that a lot of people use audit as a springboard. So there's a lot of people who do come over in audit and then they look at the other prospects and then decide to go over.
That people must be careful with though, because people be like, I'm gonna come in for 6 months, then find another job and leave. First, you're gonna have to pay back the company all that money, which is a lot of money. Secondly, it's actually not that easy to find a job outside of audit. So it's really not.
I think so
there are a lot of jobs outside of audit, but to find sponsorship, which you need to work in this country, very difficult. There are people that came over, and so I don't think it's impossible. It's not we don't have the skills. Sometimes also that we don't believe we have the skills, but actually we have the skills. But my other struggle was, if I come over with something else, what is it?
Exactly. And I think this just goes back to, we
never
do
a new country and a new type of job. It's too much.
Exactly. I felt like I needed to know one thing. That be audit, because it wasn't the company, it wasn't the country. At least let it be audit. So I think I picked the struggle. I picked the struggle. But again, if it's something that you're interested in, you know what you want, go for it. It will happen if it's meant to happen. Again, switching over it's not as easy as you know people think it is, because there are costs involved.
Read your contract
before you sign it, because you know what you're getting into. Be willing to make those commitments and those sacrifices. There's a lot that goes into the decision, so just definitely make sure, can you commit to whatever's in that contract. you also don't want to waste people's time and money. It is your name on the line kind of thing. You don't just want to be hopping from company to company. So just think it through.
It is a big choice. But if you can find a company to come with, and for example, like a lot of people have came over via like mergers and acquisitions, whatever. If you know that is something you want, corporate deals, then go for it immediately, or see if you can go for it immediately. But if you aren't sure and you're happy with the comfort of having one constant like we were, then it's really not the end of the world to spend another year with doing auditing. I really don't think so. In the greater scheme of things, the things I've experienced while living here, any day I would say I would do that 1 year over again, substantively tested even.
With your expenses.
With my expenses. But the amount of places I've traveled to and the first time experience I've gotten that I would not have dreamed of having
out of this world
as a kid.
Out of this world. I felt like I didn't even have those dreams. Like, I think I was in Paris and I didn't even dream about ever being in Paris because it just felt so unrealistic. And to just be there, like, ugh.
Like, I have this thing that I can't picture myself going somewhere because in my mind it was always impossible.
Yeah.
So even right up until I'm stepping into that new country, I think something's going to happen. I'm not going to see it. And I'll be like, I don't get excited. I'm just, people are like, oh, excited for it, and I'm like, yeah. But meanwhile, I'm like, not really. But then when I get there, it hits me that Mumtaz, you're in a new country. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, sometimes it even hits me that I'm here. Like, sometimes I'll just be walking in Central and then I'll see like a red bus or something and be like, oh my God, I moved across the world. And then it hits me and I become emotional all over again. But, yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
Auditing is a lot, but I felt like this was worth it for me.
I can definitely say it's worth it. I think I always go back and do I regret it? And not at all. Like, I would take it all, maybe minus some of the hardships. But I mean, I would probably do it all again.
The one thing you must take into account is weight gain when you it's called the Heathrow injection, apparently. 10 kgs within the first 6 months of living here, easily. Everybody will be like, oh, no, I've never picked up weight. That's not me. London. Just come to London. You will pick it up here.
But again, on that note, so we're gonna have to just end part 2. I can't believe we have so many questions that we can even do a part 3. But you guys should stay tuned for part 3. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Any more questions, leave them down below. Subscribe, share, and let's keep the conversation going. All right, see you guys.
Bye.
Bye.